Hey folks, it's Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin, and with 2016 almost at a close, 3 weeks of WWE TV left, one pay-per-view, I figured now would be as good a time as any to talk about some of the stuff that WWE got right in 2016. They got stuff wrong, and there's been plenty of issues on both Raw and SmackDown, and before the brand split there was problems in general, but they've gotten some things right. So here I am to talk about 10 things that WWE got right. Number 10, women's pay-per-view matches meaning more. Sure, a couple of them in execution didn't exactly work out. Charlotte and Sasha at SummerSlam would be an example. Even though it was a good match, it had its issues. But matches like Becky and Sasha versus Naomi and Tamina at Fastlane, which was the best match on the card, the ladies were allowed with a couple weeks build to tell a really good story. Sasha versus Becky versus Charlotte at Mania 32 was also really good. Sure, they've kind of devolved, just like, centralized Raw over Sasha and with just Sasha and Charlotte and occasionally Bayley and Dana Brooke thrown in there. And yes, the women rosters are a little thin with only about 7 or 8 each show, but still, they've usually been able to keep the quality going pretty well. And the Survivor Series women's match should have gone a lot longer than it did, in my opinion. But hey, it was still fun. And the women's pay-per-view match, while they botched some of the women's revolution, because they kind of need to stop botching that, they have done really well with a lot of the pay-per-view matches, and it's nice to at least see the women get some equal footing and some chances to have, if not the best match on the show, possibly a show-stealing match on a few pay-per-views. Not all, but 75% of the women's pay-per-view matches have been very, very good, in my opinion. Number 9, Talking Smack. Great post-show. Brian and Renee seem like they're more open about, more open and more real. It's work shoot stuff. Miz, in particular, what he said to Daniel Bryan, that turned me around on Miz's character, where I'm like, Miz has a point. And I'm not saying that Daniel Bryan doesn't have a point, but Miz did help make the IC title matter more. And then they kind of botched that whole thing by having Ziggler beat him for a month, which was stupid. In retrospect, if we were just going to give it back to Miz. But still, Talking Smack has been a really, really fun show. I really enjoy it. I always enjoy it when I get a chance to watch it. Number 8, Becky is women's champion. As you can obviously tell, Becky Lynch fan here. I really like that Becky Lynch got a chance to be the first ever SmackDown women's champion. Sure, okay, the brand split, they're creating all these championships, and some of them are cool, some of them are hideous. The tag titles on SmackDown is an example. But Becky is women's champion. Really good. Great to see her get a chance to shine on the main roster. Even though she had good matches in NXT, she was never allowed to be the NXT Women's Champion before being called up. So this is nice, even though it was only 3 months and she didn't get to defend it that much. She had that non-contact injury, or she had to have surgery on. So I don't remember what it was exactly. I heard rumors, but I'm not going to say the rumors here. But Becky didn't maybe get to defend it as much as she could have had she not had that non-contact injury, whatever it was. But it was nice for about 3 months as she was champion. Number 7, Styles is WWE champion. I never would have thought this time last year that AJ Styles, would be in WWE, even though I was hoping. And I definitely never thought that he'd be WWE champion, even if he was brought to WWE. I was proven wrong. It was great. He's had a good run so far, despite the whole thing with Ellsworth, which is kind of, it's run its course, definitely. If Ellsworth gets his shot at Styles, Styles just needs to beat him in like a minute. That needs to be it. But Styles is WWE champion. He definitely looks like he belongs with that title. I mean, he's held gold in Japan and, in TNA, and he's worked well in his spots in Ring of Honor. He's a really phenomenal talent, pardon the pun. He's just a really, really damn good talent, and I really have enjoyed AJ Styles' work for years. It's great to see him as WWE Champion finally. Number 6, Corey Graves on Raw. Finally, somebody can make Cole seem tolerable on commentary. Graves was great in NXT on commentary after he had to retire due to concussions. It was really cool that Corey has been able to hone his craft and get much better. He's a great talker. And he's a great heel, but also he will put people over proper when given a chance. So it's just really nice, and he still does NXT TV and takeovers and that kind of stuff. Him and Tom Phillips work well together. But yeah, Graves provides a really good dynamic on Raw that Cole certainly can't provide. And Byron Saxton, poor Byron Saxton, the guy is very vanilla. But Graves just makes Cole tolerable, which is hard to do. Number 5, better emphasis on the big 4 pay-per-views. Okay, Mania 32 was kind of the shits. I mean, okay, it was basically the absolute shits outside of the women's match and a couple other things. But the Royal Rumble seemed to have more emphasis, and actually the 2016 edition, top to bottom, at least as far as like main matches that they hyped, was one of the best Rumble events as a whole that they've done in the past number of years. SummerSlam had a bigger emphasis and seemed like a pretty big deal, even if the execution was a little off and they made it too long. But Survivor Series is the one that benefited most from this, because Survivor Series have been the shit since, in my opinion, 2009. Even though 2011 had Rock, Cena versus Truth and Miz to close the show, they got away from what made Survivor Series good, and that was, elimination matches. And they did a good job making 3 of them happen on this edition, last month's edition. Especially the 5-on-5 men's Raw versus SmackDown match, which was very good. Nearly 53 minutes. Didn't feel that long, though. I mean, it's like, I think I finally looked up after the first elimination. I said to my friend, I go, I think it's been, 15, 20 minutes, and we just had an elimination. It's really good stuff. But it's nice to have a better emphasis on the big 4 pay-per-views, because that's where your bread and butter is. Even with the WWE Network, it's nice that WWE's been doing that. And now we go to number 4, Miz as IC champion. I was wrong about Miz. I didn't think the Miz would make the IC title matter more. I wasn't so sure about him beating Zack Ryder the night after Mania 32. But it worked out pretty well. Despite having Maurice involved, sorry, I just don't find Maurice interesting. I just don't. I didn't miss her when she left. I didn't care when she came back. To me, she's been one of the lamest returns they had in a while, because she just showed up like, oh, hey, it's Maurice. Yay. But Miz has delivered some really good performances as IC champion. One could argue it's because of the people he's been in the ring with also. But it takes 2 to tango, and Miz has been a really good heel. So he's been doing a top job this year. Number 3, the CWC, because we've gotten so many cruiserweight talents out of it, some that I had never heard of, and some that I had heard of and not been able to see, some I had never heard of and obviously had never been able to see. Guys like Jack Gallagher, Cedric Alexander I'd heard of. It was really cool that he was able to get a contract. Same with T.J. Perkins, Rich Swann. It was nice that he already had a contract. He worked well. Zack Sabre Jr. and Kota Ibushi did not take their contract offers, which is fine. I mean, I would have liked to have seen what Sabre Jr. could have done, but it's okay. And Tony Nese, really like Tony Nese. I don't know, just his style and his look. I think he's really cool. To CWC, the Cruiserweight Classic, the 10-week programming, it made NXT fun to watch, because you knew right afterwards CWC was coming, and it was great to live tweet it and enjoy it. My God, it was good stuff. The rumors are they're going to do a women's tournament next year, like maybe possibly in February, if I heard right. If that's the case, that's going to be really fun. But yeah, the CWC was really great. It was one of the highlights WWE did this year. Number 2, hiring guys like Styles, Rude, EY, Aries, Roderick Strong, Nakamura. Yes, there are others that are kind of bouncing around in my head, but those are the names that run right to the top. And it's really, really cool that finally these guys are getting a chance to shine on an even bigger stage. And that's all. And Nakamura and AJ Styles were in Japan and doing pretty well. But it's nice to be on an even bigger stage. And New Japan Pro Wrestling is doing pretty well. But it was nice to see these guys get a chance. So hats off to WWE for signing these guys. The jury's still on how they're going to use Strong and Aries. I'm wondering if Aries is going to do a wrestler/commentator role, because he's really good on the 205 Live commentary. And number 1, hiring Mauro Ranallo, because finally SmackDown has great commentary again. Mauro is fantastic with his pop culture references, his ability to call moves, get the enthusiasm up. Every time I watch something with Mauro Ranallo, like, on commentary, I get excited because it reminds me of why I'm a fan. He gets me invested in watching, and gets me invested in watching the match and listening to the commentary, and like, okay, this stuff really goes well together. Mauro Ranallo has been doing great commentary on the Canadian independents and also for boxing and kickboxing. and also New Japan for years. I remember him doing commentary for a little Canadian promotion called Top Ranked Wrestling. It was years and years ago on a local cable access channel that I have here in Washington. But I remember specifically Mauro Ranallo doing that, and it was just really good stuff. And I was like, one of the first times I heard this guy call moves, I'm like, this guy's good. I really hope that somebody bigger hires him, because he's getting his feet wet. He's doing well here, but I hope that he gets a chance to, get on a bigger stage, and now he has. He was in, like, the places I mentioned, and now he's in WWE, and it's great, and his contract apparently has years left on it, which is fantastic, because Mauro Ranallo is awesome. He's done great commentary, and that's why it's number one for me. So, those are 10 things. What do you think of my list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What stuff would you like to put on your list? Like, share, comment, and subscribe. My Twitter link is in the description. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.